You're gonna hear cats meowing in the background, but that is because they're hungry for their feeding. However, their feeding is in 10 minutes. So they just gotta wait 10 more minutes, and their afternoon feeding, which is pre scheduled, will drop. But I had a thought. I had this thought, and yesterday as I was listening to that person with the advice and the tutorial talk, they were talking about different things, and I followed through on a good amount of it. And then I got tired, so I took a nice restorative nap. And honestly, I woke up just like 15 minutes ago, and just like eased myself. So I got up at 6:30 this morning, and then did a couple things till about 8, and then took a nap till now, which is 12. So but I had some thoughts. So let me know what you think of this. Let me know what you think of this. I had the thought, you know, I've been all like I've been all private, trying to keep things, mostly secluded. I know you might think, like, private, what are you talking about? I mean, in regards to, like, the actual art that I do and things like that, or showing video. But I was wondering if you might be interested in in me showing some of my actual artwork and just talking about it, and just here's the thing. I'm a person who gets very excited about their own work. I love working on it. I love the details and the story I put into it, and different aspects of it. And I was thinking, like, well, wouldn't it be interesting? Like, maybe I could record me going through my old artwork and just showing it off. So I was wondering if would that be something that would be interesting to just, go through and record going through my old art, talking about old stories, or not even just old art. I think maybe the first video would get taken up by old art, but just like work my way through artwork and show off, some of, and just talk about it. I've seen other channels before go through like their old comics. I don't have many what you would call old comics. I mostly just did illustration more than comics, but that could be. I was thinking about that. I was thinking about ways to do that. And I looked up other things too, like if I downloaded OBS, I might be able to do like recording me like drawing proper, or different things like that. Different things that are super simple to do. I don't know if like games or most of the games I'd want to play are on console that would need capture card, and I can't really get a capture card at the moment. But I've just been thinking, I don't know, reaction videos. That could work. Reaction videos too, or maybe not even reaction videos. What if it was just me watching through old videos that I like? Either one. And I had another thought, right? You know how I was previously, I've spoken at length about, just being around someone without having to say anything, just offering that you don't always have to click off of someone when they're not being interesting. I've talked about this before, how odd it is that a lot of the times in the friendship I've seen, that the moment you're not performing, the moment you're not interesting, the person's like, all right, well, I'll see you later, and then they click off. When it's, well, wouldn't it be nice if we could just hang out without having to constantly be entertaining, be funny, just be around each other? And I had this thought. And I think I'll do it, but also let me know what you think about this. I had this thought that what if you've ever seen these YouTube videos that are like, study with me, Well, I had this idea of, well, what if I did something kind of like that? What if I did a video that was like, what if I did a video that was like that, where I just like set up my camera, and now it wouldn't be as like concise and quiet as necessarily a study session or anything like that. But it would but it wouldn't be anything as like concise as quiet like that, but it would be, I'm trying to think how to describe it. Like literally just hanging out with someone while they're doing something. I would put, music on in the background. I still have to be mindful of what my computer can handle, so making it for as so as little editing as possible. I would put like some music on in the background from either like my phone or my computer, and then just kind of be there for I don't know, an hour, 2 hours, however long, and like between recording these journals, it's just long stretches of silence throughout the day with very little happening. Very, very long stretches where just me and my cats, no real conversation is happening. And I thought, like, well, maybe that's useful as well. Maybe I could apply that to YouTube. Why should there only be a video? When things are interesting or there's a topic. What if there was also some worth to those long hours of silence and just, being around? And I thought of that, and I was like, ooh, that could be really interesting. So I think I want to try that, but also let me know what you think. If I did something like that, I would have just play music in the background, just go through my day for whatever the hours are. Just go through my day. I don't think I would like cook or visibly do anything like that, but it would just be set up to where my camera's down, just recording in the same spot as I work through things. I think that could be really interesting. I wouldn't mind trying that. So that's a possibility. That's a possibility. I was thinking about that, and yeah, just like going through. So those are the main ideas. Going through artwork. Going through artwork, making just that's one, and then the other one is, maybe watching something and just enjoying it, and the third one is just like long stretches of just hanging out, not trying to long stretches of hanging out, and not trying to necessarily have any big bright ideas or something like that. And there'll still be these journals, but it could be something a little more fun. Like if I got OBS, maybe I could do more visual parts, if that makes sense. Like I could, have fun with writing and brainstorming, and or just talk about random analyses or things like that. Those are all ideas. But the main thing I wanted to talk about today is was going through. So here's a little preface. Oftentimes when I realize that there's something I'm put off by or I dislike, and I don't mean in like a personality, moral. I mean like a design. Like when I look at a character design, and And if I here's another thing, if I did those, study with me style videos, I would probably, have moments like this where in the middle of it I would just talk about pull out my camera and show you the picture. you know just to not have to quite edit it in. But I would probably do things like this where just in between in the silence I would just start talking about something I just saw, as I go through, like, oh, I see a bit like or that's a little, just random little commentary, if that makes sense. Almost like a let's play, but you don't really get to see the game, you just get to see real life. But anyway, so oftentimes when I see something like a design, or something that's like aesthetically or visually, I'm just like, I don't really like that. Oftentimes I'll go back later, if it's worth the time, if I think it's worth the time, I'll go back later and be like, or if, especially if it's not clear to me at first, and I'll go back and be like, okay, why is it that I don't like this? Why is it that this doesn't appeal to me? But then, this appeals to me, or I think that this is all right, or this is good. And let me like break this down, so it's not just me saying like, that's not very good, or this good, that kind of thing. And so I'm gonna go through one today that I had a minute ago. Where is it? Ah, here it is. So it's a little trivial, but it's just me having fun. So, and I wrote down notes on it on the day, just so I could keep my thought process through it as I was going through. So this specifically has to do with Dragon Ball. Has to do with Dragon Ball. Oh, actually, just in general, not even like a specific portion of Dragon Ball, and it's so basically, it was me breaking down why I don't really like the Whis Gi from Dragon Ball Super. And if you've seen, that's WHISGI, Whis Gi, or as I put it, the Whis Gi set. And if I'll put a picture. Like, this will be the first time I just insert a photo into one of these videos, and you'll probably get to see it. But the Whis Gi, it was introduced in Resurrection F, and then it stopped getting used. So, well, it's not just Goku's gi, it's also Vegeta's armor. I'll count that also as the Whis clothing set. And basically the gist of what I'm saying is that I've never liked the Whis gi just clothing set. It's always bothered me, and I wrote down some notes here. Not very fond of it. Let's see. Goku just being orange and Vegeta being gray puts me off. For me, it's obnoxiously orange. And for me, the Whis Gi is obnoxiously orange and obnoxiously blue all at the same time. Especially when Goku goes Super Saiyan Blue. It's just like... And I wrote down, Goku has had monotone gis before, but something about that particular shade of orange and the particular shades that were chosen for each outfit's color. I wrote down it's less sunflower and more highlighter. And I just put, it's just a lot of orange. Yeah, it's less sunflower and more like fluorescent highlighter, a lot of orange. And then And then I'll have this picture up too. It's this older artwork of Goku in previous gis and outfits. And then I realized one of the key differences is the amount of distinct tones that are on each gi. So one thing is that the Whis gi is, there's not really anything under it, so it's just Goku's skin tone and then a whole lot of orange on his body. And it's extra baggy, so it takes up even more space. And the only thing that's really breaking up the sheer amount of orange is equally saturated sort of fluorescent blue, like hand armbands, a sash belt, and these really blue like boots with just some gray. And I wrote down here. Let's see. I wrote down here. You know what my mind is telling me is that the Whis gi ensemble is missing a proper third color. And the picture will probably be up, so you can see it. The in comparison, the gi on the Super Saiyan in the middle has the sunflower, the usual sunflower colored gi, and then under that it has the blue shirt to help break up the orange from the skin tone, but it also has the distinctive red outlines moving its way up the boots. But on top of that, it doesn't just have that, it also has breaking up the color is the like tan tone of the like little rope ties around his ankles. On top of that, the color is just much less saturated and overly orange, and also it has that blue underneath the orange breaking up the color. But that's not the only thing. So I also put young Goku's gi, and you can see it there on the left. Young Goku's gi doesn't have that undershirt, but one is that it contrasts with his skin tone, so it already sort of divides itself and doesn't kind of meld into one big swath of color. But on top of that, it's paired with the red wristbands and the white belt, which help to, break it up even more. Like, even if you remove, and I put here, it also is broken up by the carrier for the power pole is yellow, so it creates 4 tones on the one design. But even if you removed that power pole carrier and the yellow it has, you would still have the white and the red breaking up the teal, and the teal itself is contrasting enough to not meld in with the skin tone. And then on top of that, there's even the tail. There's the Nimbus being purple. Of course the illustration is doing a lot of the work here, but just the design alone, just covering up the purple from the cloud. You have the tan tone with Goku's tail. You have the tan tones of like the ropes that are tying the power pole. But even without that, with just the outfit alone, no accessory, you would still have that teal color contrasting with the skin tone. You'd still have the red wristbands, and you'd still have the white belt that's like breaking it up. And that white belt is doing a lot. Like, that white belt is putting in a lot of work in addition to the other parts. And then I have this other photo here. It's Trunks in his green gi. Well, first off, Trunks' gi is green, paired with, again, the white belt, yellow shoes, magenta wristbands. And I put, like, in comparison, the Whis gi set is really super predominantly just blue and orange. and mostly orange with those little contrasting blue sections. So the whole outfit is mainly just two-tone. It is mainly just a two-toned outfit. Orange and blue. That's it. It's missing any proper variance. And I wrote down, yes, there are the gray accents on the shoes. The gray accents do break up the color, but unlike the red accents from before, or, the wristbands, or the white belt. Unlike the white belt or the red wristbands, the blue shirt underneath, unlike the rope ties, unlike the red outlines on the shoes, the gray is kind of like, and I added it here, it's like placeholder color. The gray accents just break up the colors, but they don't really add much visually, and are positioned so low on the design that they don't really have an effect on the main body of it. And I put that, and they have like these. It's funny because the shoes kind of have like a three-tone thing going on. They have these white soles. They have these the gray like toe section and heel, and then they're blue. But it's like, it's not balanced, if that makes sense. It's all contained. This is part of my problem with it. Part of why I'm not really into the set itself is that it's all just kind of contained into the bottom area. All of that the primary outfit itself is just orange and blue. There's not much really going on. And on top of that, the form is meant, the outfit is meant to pair with the Super Saiyan Blue form. So you could say that when Goku isn't in Super Saiyan Blue, that the gray in the shoes the dark gray in the shoes kind of pairs with the black in his hair. And I'm going to get to that because there's another outfit, and I'm sure the photo's already up, that does it better than that does it a bit better than, because with the blue surrounding the gray just kind of becomes placeholder color. It's not like, for me, it's not properly adding any substance or detail. And then when the form goes into blue, well, then the gray is just there with nothing. It's not exactly balanced, if that makes sense. So I'll get into another gi, and the photo's already up, so I'm gonna stop mentioning that. But I'll get into another gi that's just two-toned, but isn't exactly just two-toned. I'll get into that in a second. But so you have that dark gray, and you have the white soles, which adds like a third tone to the shoes. But then it's kind of odd just having soles that are like a really bright color. It's like, it's not the distribution of colors and tones on the outfit is like not quite symmetrical. And then you have these hyper saturated like highlighter colors in the blue and the orange. And here, I'll get on to the next part. So not a lot of overall color variance in the Whiskey. Predominantly, its main body is just orange and blue. Yeah, the gray accents break up the colors, don't add much, and are positioned so low on the design that they don't really affect the main body of it. And then I put that tournament gi, the one on the right, the one with only the orange and gray, works well for a monotone one because it's like just gray in the shoes. It pairs well, and because it's just gray in the shoes and it's not overly saturated, and you have the gray belt, the gray wristbands. So here's another thing, right? With that design, and you can see it in Goten as well. Well, hold on, let me finish Trunks. Trunks, his gi, you have the green, you have the white belt, you have the yellow shoes, and the magenta wristbands. So you have lots of points of color. And on top of that is purple hair. So, anyway, back to that like tournament Goku gi. So you actually have like the colors dividing up the design really well. So with the Whis gi, you have Goku's black hair when he's in base, and then you have blue in the middle, blue wristbands, blue shoes, but then it has that bit of gray in the shoe to pair with Goku's black hair. But then when he goes blue, you have that really bright popsicle blue, but then you still have the saturated, like blue sash, blue wristbands, blue shoes, which don't quite match the tone of his hair. But you have, I'll give it, like, at the least you have 3 dividers of blue, but now the gray in the shoes is kind of awkwardly there. So I guess something I could say is that the Whis gi design is kind of trying to play. It's trying to play to both the base form and the blue form, but in the end it doesn't. And I'm thinking maybe the tone, the shade of blue used in the wristbands, the belt, and the shoes is darker to try and pair with Goku's base form black hair, but then the shade doesn't pair particularly well with the Super Saiyan blue hair. So it's kind of as if the design is trying to it's kind of if the design is trying to play towards both forms at once. It's trying to cater to both, but then in either form there's just like a color that doesn't quite work, or there's just an element of the design that doesn't pair well with either. And in that, like, truly just two-tone, well, not even truly two, I'll get into that in a second, with that seemingly two-tone gi that's just orange and the gray, it divides up nice by having the wristbands being gray, so that you have something in the middle that is mobile, breaking up the design, and plus the gray. So you have the sunflower, which does pair with his skin tone, but it's contrasted with this gray that's on each section of the body. So you have the gray sash in the middle, you have the gray on the wrists, which when his arms are resting, you'll always have that gray breaking up his midsection along with the belt, and then you have the gray shoes, and it all pairs very well with his black hair, with the gray highlights. So there's nothing, the design isn't trying to play, double duty. It's not doing double duty to try and conform to both forms. And something that the base gi does really well, and that Super Saiyan right in the middle, that Z style gi, is it avoids putting in any like shades of gray that would try and pair with Goku's base form hair. It instead, what it does is it goes for that red, green, blue primary color thing. So when Goku goes Super Saiyan, it's not the gray isn't just awkwardly there, no longer pairing with the base form hair. And here's the thing, that two-tone gi, that seemingly two-tone gi, which is the orange and the gray, it would actually work with Super Saiyan hair, even though, it would be yellow, but it would pair well. That shade would pair well with just the orange. It's not, here's the thing is, it's not trying to overplay itself. So there's no element lost. It would just go with, there's no element that just sticks out as not being used anymore. So it would pair with the yellow and have the gray in contrast. Even though it wouldn't be the best, I do think it would be better than... And actually a good example of that is if you see that picture of Goten, the little, Goku's son, he goes Super Saiyan while in that outfit. And so you get to see an example of the yellowish golden hair paired with the sunflower gi. And if you'll notice, he's like wearing a little version of what his dad was wearing. But it pairs well with that sunflower gi with the gray. So, it's not just speculation. There's provable like design proof that would work. But with the Whis gi outfit, it's like so saturated orange, so saturated blue, that you throw almost any variants of the hair color on, and it doesn't quite fit with the... It doesn't quite fit with the outfit. It's like the design is trying to pull concessions and play to too many styles at once, too many forms at once, whereas these other designs, they're keeping the color range balanced so that no matter what form it goes into, like even that teal Kid Goku outfit, you put on the yellow hair of Super Saiyan, it's just going to... And I guess GT did this, right? With the, not exactly teal, but that bluish outfit. You put on the yellow, you're just going to create like that nice red, green, blue color combo with that outfit. There's a color balance so that even if a minor change is made, whereas with the Whis outfit, it's kind of like trying to play to too much at once, so that what ends up happening is that nothing really fits it in the end. And I know that it's like simultaneously too blocked out in color, like these large blocks of color. So portions of it. So here's the thing, right? Like portions of it are doing too much. And then other portions of it are doing too little. But the thing is that the primary part of it, the body, is doing too little. And then the shoes are doing too much to try and almost compensate for what's lost on the body. And looking at like that Super Saiyan one, the red with the white rope, the white rope breaks up the blue color. And then the red paired with the white. So that's another like key difference. You have those red outlines paired with the white, whereas the Whis outfit, you have gray paired with white. So it's not quite doing the job of creating enough color variance. And you have the red outlines kind of create... So you have the red outlines on the bottom, right? And it creates this expectation of a difference in color at the top. So you can make the hair gold. So the majority of the outfit on that Super Saiyan 1 is the sunflower, broken up by the blue, but you have the blue undershirt to break up the body color from the gi color. And then you have the red, which is, like a distinct color on the shoes, which is doing a job of making detail out of the white on the sole of the shoe and the tan rope. But the red also creates an expectation for a difference of color. So like design symmetry, right? You have this difference of color on the bottom of the design with the shoe. And so it creates an expectation of a difference of color on the top of the design with the hair. So the hair can be gold now, and it'll create that red, green, blue variance with the shoe, because the shoes has that red now with the blue. And so now you have not red, green, blue, red, yellow, blue, primary colors. So the yellow hair just adds in that third primary color, so it feels balanced. But when it's the black hair, well, then all it's doing is contrasting with the sunflower color, which functions part ways as the yellow in the red, yellow, blue primary color thing. And so instead it contrasts the colors, whereas when he goes Super Saiyan, it does the job of creating the red, yellow, blue more prominently. But the thing is that like the gold of the Super Saiyan hair pairs with the overall gi, whereas with the Super Saiyan blue, it contrasts the gi, which makes the orange of it stand out even more, if that makes sense. Thinking about it, but going more into depth than just what my trying to go more into depth than just what my notes wrote. And I wrote this. Okay, so the tournament one with seemingly only the orange and gray works well for a monotone gi because the gray pairs well with Goku's hair, Goku's eyes, and the line art. And then I wrote actually with 2 little exclamation points. That one actually has 3 tones as well. Goku's white socks. They're in the same relative position on his legs as the whites of his eyes are on his head. So what ends up happening is that there's symmetrically white on the design. There is now white on the top of the design and white on the bottom. And yes, here's the thing. There are lots of characters out there who have, and that definitely is like a valid part of the design. Even though it's not clothing, it adds to the outfit. And just like, imagine all the characters out there who have colored eyes. All the characters out there who have colored eyes. Like red eyes, blue eyes, green eyes, running the whole gambit. And how much that actually affects the overall feel of the design, and how clothing is oftentimes like balanced around that to contrast it or to complement it or to bring it out more. Like that really is a design element. And now like take that picture and imagine it if Goku had different colored eyes. It would completely throw it off. But instead, there's like color symmetry in the design created by those white socks being in like relatively in that same position with Goku's eye color on the top. It's like color symmetry. And the whites of his eyes. So you have the black shoes. You have that block of like dark gray, black, and then the white. And then on top you have that block of dark gray, black with his hair, and then the white with his eyes. And so it creates a third tone that is present on the top and present on the bottom. Smartly creates a third tone using a part of his body instead of a part of the clothing. It uses a part of his body to create like a symmetrical third tone. And so now you have that balance of the dark gray black on the bottom, and then his hair on top, broken up in the middle by more of that dark gray / black. And then, with the Goten example, if he goes Super Saiyan, then it just pairs well with the sunflower color of the gi. But, like, with the Whis outfit, it, like, one is that, like, the tone doesn't match, so it doesn't quite create that symmetry in the colors. And it's still got that, like, gray. So another thing that helps is that outfit, the shoes themselves are, like, just that dark gray black, primarily, with that little bit of gray that sneaks through, not gray, a little bit of white of the socks that sneaks through to match, like, upwards with the eyes. Whereas with the Whis gi, in either form, there's, like, a tone that doesn't... It's like the blue in the shoes is trying to preemptively match with... And the thing is how much blue there is in the shoes, right? So it's like trying to preemptively match with the blue in the hair, even when the blue isn't there, so it ends up not quite mixing well with just the base form's hair. And then you have the gray in the shoes, which doesn't quite mix well with the blue color in the blue color with the Super Saiyan blue. It's like, it doesn't quite come together. And I hope I'm explaining it well enough, or, like, in a way that makes sense enough. But, like, another thing that kind of shows off how versatile that main outfit is like, the Super Saiyan God design. So, you make Goku... So, it's such a good outfit because... And it's not like it's the only outfit that works. Like, any of these other outfits actually would work really well. I mean, you take this Goten one, you put the Super Saiyan God hair on it. It's going to contrast with the yellow. You'll have, like, a cool red and yellow scheme going on with the gray. You put it on Trunks' design, it'll contrast with the green and the red. And he already has that, like, magenta in his wristbands, so, it would work really well with that. And then you take this Super Saiyan design, you color his hair red. Well, guess what? There's already red in the design on the shoes, so then it becomes symmetrical. I mean, that is what Battle of Gods did. Now it's symmetrical with the red in his shoes. You have the red on the bottom, you have the red on the top, and then you have the blue and the yellow creating that red, yellow, blue, tone. It really works out in the end. It's such a versatile... You put anything on it, and it has something in the design that is going to complement it. Whereas with the Whis gi, it feels like it's trying to do that. Just kind of built in, but then it ends up not functionally doing it well with any of them. Any of the different forms or the design. It feels so, like, situational, and even then it feels not over-designed necessarily, but over-geared towards trying to fit with each of the different forms. It's like a weird compromise that's not really satisfying with any option that pairs with it. But, yeah. I'm sure I've been talking about this for a while now, so let me get any final thoughts and like, wrap it up. So let me think. Let me look at these pictures and just think if I have any final thoughts. And that's another. So here's another thing with that tournament gi, with that seemingly just has the two tones, but actually uses the eyes. It's that even if Goku goes Super Saiyan, his eye whites are still gonna be there. So no matter what, the white in his socks will always have that symmetry with the top of his design. Because his eye whites aren't going to change color. So that the socks in the shoes are always going to have the design element that it's symmetrical with, that it pairs with, no matter what happens with like the different forms. The eye whites are always going to stay the eye whites, and so the socks are never just going to be left without the design element that they were meant to pair with. You know, they're not going to lose their purpose if the form changes. And even the same with like Trunks' design. Something similar with Trunks' design there is, if he goes Super Saiyan, it pairs with the yellow in his shoes. So again, you have the color symmetry on the design of. So in his base form, you have the contrast with the purple and the yellow. He goes Super Saiyan. Now you have the symmetry with the yellow on top, yellow on bottom, and you'll have the and it'll emphasize like the magenta color in his wristband. It's like, it's perfect. Like, really, it's such a good separation of color. It's such a good separation of color, and it also helps that his shoes are two-tone, just yellow and gray. But it's and then the white belt just like completes it. It's such a, because again, the white belt will pair with the white in his eyes. So even though it's not symmetry in this case, it does a great job of like, because he has the dark purple hair and then the white of the eyes, and then he has the green gi, and if you put the gray sash, it wouldn't contrast very well. Like, yeah, it would go with the gray in the shoes, but then it would be too much of one color. You need something to break it up. Like, it's great color, like blocking, great color design. Like, really, like, properly. But I guess like the key takeaway is finding those design elements, those elements of the design that aren't going to lose their function, you know, if the character changes forms, or, you know, making a design that tries to play to too many aspects of, purposely tries to overplay to too many aspects of the character at once. And finding design elements that are kind of like, will stick through no matter the weather on the design, no matter what form it takes, no matter, you know, no matter what color changes or things like that. Things that will continue to have their function and sort of justify their presence no matter what form the design takes, or sets expectations for variance in the design, like how the red does on the shoes on that Super Saiyan. Versus like the gray in the shoes on the Whis gi, which, like, once he turns Super Saiyan blue, that gray is just kind of there, you know, no longer, it has lost what it was supposed to pair with in the first place. But yeah, I'm a bit tired now talking about this, but yeah, that's, so, you know, maybe this was helpful. Maybe this was helpful, and maybe this was helpful, and then, you know, think of something for your own design work. I'm sure there's all kinds of different design languages and things to do, and, you know, color theory and things like that you can go for. But maybe this will be helpful in picking out colors or making design elements, you know, things like that. Where to put colors, you know, could be useful. Hopefully it is. But anyway, bye.